the Grizzlies now more open to entertaining offers for Ja Morant, which is a departure from Ja's our guy. We still believe in him. Don't even call us about him. He's not going anywhere. I think Zach Kleiman has been very intentional about his wording concerning Ja Morant over the past couple of seasons, as has been on the floor as much, some of the off-court issues and things. There's still been that belief level that we've gotten this shift is interesting to me. And I don't really know what to do with it because we are fresh off of the Trae Young deal where it was clear the Hawks did not want to commit like max level money to Trae Young. And they weren't sure if they wanted to continue building around him as like the overall point of the offense. And we eventually land on the Washington trade. And so even as you're thinking of like Ja Morant suitors, one's just off the board in the Washington Wizards since they just traded for Trae Young. But like Ja in particular, I have been frustrated with some of the play where, hey, you have a driving lane here, you are not taking it, or you are now taking these open pull-up jumpers, you're just not hitting enough of them. But then there are also games where, go back to the Grizzlies-Sixers game not too long ago, where Ja Morant is in command. He is getting to his spots. He's attacking early and often. The playmaking pops because of the advantages he's able to create. Just kind of see he still has like this all NBA ceiling to him to where he can dictate terms. And so he's obviously, in my opinion, still a very good player. It's hard to get to star or superstar right now because of where the shooting is and because of where the floater is. I do think just as a small guard, this is something that I broached with you as we were talking about Trae Young, the margins do shrink figuratively and literally when you are a small guard. Like there is just a scoring threshold that you have to hit to make that worth it, especially if you're not going to be a high level defender. And Ja Morant, he's had his stretches of engagement. He's had his stretches of event creation throughout his career, but he's never firmly been a good defender. And so like it's hard to kind of parse through what his trade value is right now. And so on a basic level, I am curious to see like how this ends. And that's why it was interesting to me that Shams immediately followed up that tweet. We're getting phone calls and offers, but we are also okay with keeping him, which is a signal to me like we are not selling low on him. If you want him, you got to give me something good. And so I'm just in a weird place with Ja and with the Grizzlies in general because they are, I tweeted this the other day, they're a fascinating team. Depending on what night you catch them, the defense is good. They run in transition. Literally anyone can initiate their offense. You have Cam Spencer, threes all over the place. Jalen Wells perked up offensively after a really cold start. Vince Williams was doing some ball handling while Ja was out. That's continued. Cedric Coward, as you've written about in your rookie review or in your rookie rankings, and just generally following the Grizzlies. Like there are good things that can happen on any given night. The consistency is where it dings. And you would like to see Ja be an answer to that, but he hasn't been super available. So I'm just curious to see where this goes. Like, I don't blame Memphis for exploring things. But I would imagine Miami, Brooklyn, Minnesota, probably the three teams at the top of mind for me at the very least that'll sniff around this. But I'm just in an odd place with Ja and with the Grizzlies as a whole.
I think you cannot put the toothpaste back in the tube. It's a life lesson. Once certain thresholds are crossed, once you put yourself in a certain position, once there's a feeling of resentment, and it's hard to go back. And so I truly believe it's over. It's done. Ja Morant's going to be the next domino to fall. He's going to get traded. And so it's just kind of the nature of the beast. Because how do you bring him back into the fold after the incident? And hey, just so you know, we're willing to trade him.
Mm-hmm.
We can do the math.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Like that being out there is a signal in and of itself. And so that's where I guess I'll toss the question to you, Steve. Like, what team makes the most sense for Ja if the Grizzlies do actually press that button before the deadline or heading into the offseason?
Well, I think this is the tough part about midseason trades because of a lot of teams are battling and competing and playing well. I'd probably say Miami more so than Minnesota for me. I don't necessarily think Minnesota needs to make that swing with the run that they've had and what they've found offensively and what they can do defensively and the ceiling that they've produced. Not to say you wouldn't help Minnesota. I just don't necessarily think that they have to do that. I think for Miami, if you can get Ja Morant for the right price, right pieces, why not? You add another talent. You get someone who drives the basketball well. I know people will make jokes about, well, he didn't like the offense. I think he'll be fine getting downhill and working with Eric Spoelstra, who's known to get the best out of his players. So I probably circle Miami. Not sure if it happens, but Brooklyn, I don't see it. I don't see Brooklyn making that as their first move and swing for the future.
Okay. Like the Brooklyn one is where I was interested because obviously they have the assets to pull it off and they have the cap space to pull it off. But it would be interesting to draft like 3 guards and then a few months later, it's like, hey, let's go ahead and get Ja Morant. Actually, we just don't believe in any of these guys, or at the very least, we don't believe in them enough to not explore this. So that does feel kind of odd to me. The Miami one, I feel like starting to come around on because I was generally into I don't really love the fit, especially if Ja getting to the rim a ton early in his career that has tailed off because of some of the injuries and some of the scheme changes and how teams guard him, something that we talked about when we had our big Memphis conversation earlier in the year following the incident and things, is that there are only like 2 or 3 players seeing help defenders on drives at a higher rate than Ja was. And so that obviously factors into it as well. But like he hasn't been the same rim threat, and that ultimately hurts the overall impact and value that he brings on the floor. But I think if you're Miami, if the cost is Tyler Hero, who you didn't give the extension to ahead of the season anyway, like if it's one of those swaps where Hero's the foundation, you don't have to give up Khalil Ware in the deal, I think it's probably worth the swing, if for no other reason than we have to take an upside swing somewhere with this. And I think, too, the concerns about Ja not liking the offense, I think that's a valid concern to have. But it's also like, to your point, Steve, it'll probably be easier for him to trust in the pedigree of Eric Spoelstra, who has won multiple championships and it just is the longest tenure coach in the league now, right? Or between him and Rick Carlisle. Like, I think it's fair to say that Ja may have a higher level of respect for Eric Spoelstra. So, like, you can talk yourself into that. And even with the Ja contract, 39 mil this year, 42 mil next year, about 45 the year after that. Like, it's not a crippling deal, and he's only 26. So if he does turn it around, not only do you still have a young star level talent or all-star level talent, he's locked in. You don't really have to worry about that for another year and a half. We talk about off-season extensions, things like that. So I am starting to vibe a little bit more with Miami as an option, at least more so than I was like 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I think the more interesting for me to kind of close this out, and I toss it back to you, Steve, from our own Kelly Eco, as he recently wrote about the Ja Morant situation and what's happening there. Jackson Jr., maybe he becomes available if a Ja domino falls. If Memphis decides, actually, we're just going to blow all of this up and we're going to build this core around Cedric Cower and Zach Edey and the other younger guys that we have. Jaren is the guy that actually gets you a ton of stuff if the Grizzlies actually want to press that button. Like, you just don't find too many bigs that can self-create knockdown shots and protect the rim at the level that Jaren Jackson can, especially on the high end. And so, one, if you're Memphis, would you consider trading Jaren? Like, what would the package have to be for you to be like, yeah, I'm okay with this? And if that does end up being more of a conversation, is there a Jaren team that you think would make sense, Steve?
I don't think they would. I wouldn't move Jaren Jackson Jr. right now. I think if you're going to make both swings, what's the push for? Like, I feel like Jaren Jackson Jr. would be more of an off-season move where we have a clear direction of what we might want to do, what we might want to add. Mm-hmm. If you trade both right now, what are you piecing together? Are you setting yourself up for success in the offseason? Who's gonna pay the price that you would want right now for Jaren Jackson? Mm-hmm. Is the question I would ask. Or are you just going to try and go on flexibility? It's a different day and age. It's not like free agency is the number one deal to acquire players. You're going to want to have some assets in the offseason to be able to trade if that's where you're trying to improve. So for me, it's more so I would probably keep him around and see what we got with that and then what's going on in the offseason.
Okay. Understood. Like, I do think there are some teams that have been linked to other stars that like have their full pick complement. Like, off the top of my head, Toronto's been linked to like 7 different bigs already. If Jaren becomes available, like, hey, can we try to pair Jaren Jackson Jr. and Scotty Barnes together in the front court? Now, if that costs you Colin Murray-Boyles, like, I don't know if they want to do that, but at the very least, they can have that conversation just as a team to use it as an example here. I think this is where Brooklyn would probably make more sense if they're actually going to make a star swing this early into the rebuild. Getting a big that should help some of the guards they drafted. It also sets the table for whatever the next free be. Like, they'd be interesting as well. I think just about everyone would come calling, though. Like, Jaren is just a very unique talent.